news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And we're talking very warm today.
Yes, we have heated advisories in effect from the National Weather Service, and on top of that, higher humidity and potential for some showers and storms tomorrow. So we got some busy weather ahead. Let's get right into it. So let's take a look at what's going on today. Again, heat advisories in effect for today. These are not extreme or excessive heat warnings, but a reminder that if you work outside, to pack an extra water bottle or some extra ice packs and find ways to stay cool today, with feels like temperatures climbing into the low to mid 90s. Currently across central New York, 60s in Rome and Hamilton, 54 up in Saranac Lake, and a live look in Cooperstown. We're seeing mainly quiet conditions across parts of the region. And a live look at the Earthfall Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. We were tracking an isolated storm passing south of Otsego County. In fact, just exited Delaware County. And the next 12 hours favor faded sunshine with temperatures climbing into the upper 80s to near 90. Now, while we're following this heat, with this coming to an end, we'll start to see what's left of Beryl move its way here into central New York. Now, we're going to talk about the risks involved with some of these showers and storms as they arrive tomorrow evening in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Damaging storm surge and intense winds as Hurricane Beryl made a landfall on the Texas coast Monday morning. More than 1.1 million customers are now without power, and that number continues to grow. Hurricane Beryl hit as a Category 1 storm near Matagorda, Texas, about 80 miles south of Houston, with maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center said dangerous and potentially life-threatening storm surge, flooding, and strong winds were all possible. Beryl is expected to weaken into a tropical storm as it moves north through eastern Texas over the next 12 hours. Well, when it's time to head back to class this fall, the Utica City School District is...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning and welcome back. The time now is 5:12, getting you set as you get out the door this morning on our Munson Commute Cast. And first off, a live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus Center camera. Some faded sunshine, quiet conditions, and on our traffic tracker early this morning, no incidents to report of. Temperatures are in the low 60s in some spots, upper 60s in others, and will climb quickly into the low 90s, at least with the feels like temperature. You factor in that heat humidity. Humidity will be on the rise for today, tomorrow, and pretty much most of the middle of this work week. And with that in mind, as we head into tomorrow, there's potential for some downpours that could linger over an area for a longer period of time, especially north and west of Utica. So we'll talk about that, of course, in a few minutes. But again, today, partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the 60s at this point, climbing to near 90 this afternoon. And so just a heads up for those of you that do work outside to bring in extra water or some ice packs, find ways to stay cool. Gary?
Meanwhile, Water Safari up in Old Forge had to close early yesterday after an unexpected power outage. But that means people who lost out on the afternoon fun will get another opportunity to enjoy the park. The park is apologizing to its guests on Facebook. They say power was lost from the main supply, excuse me, and the generators blew a fuse. The outage happened around 1:45 yesterday afternoon. Now, the good news here is that no one had to be rescued from any of the water rides. Meanwhile, a New Hartford resident posted this picture right here to Facebook saying, "This is a line to leave the park." Check that out right there. Park officials call it an unforeseen outage. Those who had to leave will be given tickets for another day. The power is now back up and running, and the park will be back open as normal today. The time right now is 5:14. Here's a live...
New York's most dependable weather team. Here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back, everyone. We got another hot day in store for us today, and this heat will also continue into tomorrow. However, we've got a risk of some flooding potential and some stronger storms. I'll go on to that detail in just a second. But a live look at downtown Utica from our Nexus Center camera. We're seeing faded sunshine early today and temperatures starting out in the upper 60s at Griffiths and Rome. Humid conditions, that dew point will continue to rise throughout the morning and early afternoon. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Just an isolated downpour just south of the Mohawk Valley that it has continued to weaken as it moved into the Albany region. And besides that, of course, most of central New York looking dry. The broader picture, again, we're cutting it close with a stationary front out to the east. And this is why we're talking about isolated thunderstorms for today. But they're few and far between. Most of us will remain entirely dry, as is some faded sunshine out in the west. But heading into tonight, here comes what's left of Beryl, somewhat broad low pressure, but there will be a lot of forcing with this system still. Lots of humidity and some heavier rain showers. And over the past 24 hours, we've been pinpointing exactly where that heavy rain sets up and produces extended heavy downpours. And with the latest data coming in, we're thinking that that rain line shifts a little bit to the north, which means that it will be hotter tomorrow, as well as there'll be some potential for some stronger storms. And so on our Skycast today, faded sunshine, temperatures approaching near 90 degrees, isolated thunderstorm in the late evening. Then by tonight, we'll see temperatures only falling into the upper 60s, low 70s. Now, starting tomorrow, this is not going to be an all-day rain washout event. But you know, at 6 p.m., look how close that rain line is to the north. This is producing heavy downpours for several hours straight. That could cause some flooding concerns. And notice we're in that dry slot south. So we got upper 80s, low 90s, very high humidity. And then here comes the backside of that system that could produce some stronger storms heading into tomorrow evening overnight. And then by Thursday, we'll see clouds and some lingering spotty showers. So risk for strong storms tomorrow. You can see the dark green and yellows to the south, indicating the potential between 1 and 2 out of 5. Damaging wind, 5% or so. And then risk for tornadoes, again, 2%. It's very unlikely, but it's non-zero. But you can see here the rainfall potential heading into tomorrow. We're cutting it very close with higher rainfall totals. So again, we'll of course provide any updates as they become available. But again, your 7-day forecast, this has shifted a little bit compared to yesterday. Not nearly of a washout for the second half of the work week. We'll see lingering rain showers Thursday, drying out Friday and into Saturday. We're still cutting it close with some showers and storms Sunday afternoon, but the morning, at least thankfully, should remain dry. Gary?
Good news for a lot of folks.
Yes, I hope so.
Eric, thanks. The time right now is 5:21. Still ahead on Sunrise on
With Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And talking about Beryl, hopefully no hurricane force winds here, though. Right?
Yes, thankfully no hurricane force winds, but with all that rain and humidity, there could be potential for some flooding heading into tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in a lot more detail in just a few minutes. But again, today, it's warm out.
Yeah.
It's going to be very warm. Let's take a look at those heat advisories across central New York early today. Oneida County, southern Herkimer County, southern Fulton, all of Montgomery County, and Madison, Otsego, and Chenango, all under heat advisories. So these are the level 1 out of 3 concern for hot weather, with temperatures on paper climbing into the upper 80s, but with the humidity factored in, it could reach the low to mid 90s. So with that in mind, again, recommend finding ways to stay cool today with some extra waters, extra ice if you work outside. But starting out, temperatures are already in the upper 60s to low 60s here in the Mohawk Valley. Cooperstown, you can see here a live view, quiet and dry. Now, across central New York, same story, but we're tracking, of course, some pop-up showers and storms. Now, most of these are popping up in the Catskill region, well south of us here in central New York. So again, today, faded sunshine, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees once more. The heat continues for tomorrow as what's left of Beryl has shifted north, but some locations still could see some severe weather risk or flooding risk. We'll talk about that in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away. President Biden remains defiant on.
Welcome back to News Channel 2 at sunrise. We are taking a look at our photo of the day today, and this one was an amazing photo submitted to us in the town or city of Rome, of course, of a beautiful hummingbird right there, and this was submitted by Kimberly. Great photo right there. If you'd like to submit a photo like this one, send the link right there on top of your screen, wktv.com/weather/pics. Now, with the warm temperatures today, I think it's great weather to go out and get some ice cream, especially this evening with temperatures in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. Right around the late evening, we back down into the mid to low 80s, which I think would be perfect weather to go out and get some ice cream. Eat it fast, though, because it will melt fairly quickly. Now, again, temperatures today will be starting out in the 60s, but climbing quickly into the 70s, 80s, and eventually low 90s with those feels-like temperatures factored in into the low to mid 90s. So again, we're talking about this heat, how long it sticks around, plus again, what we'll be expecting rain-wise tomorrow for what's left of Beryl in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thank you. Boilermaker Week is here. The best.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. We are starting out the day very mild, temperatures in the 60s, climbing to, again, upper 80s to near 90. Before we get to that, though, a beautiful shot of the sunrise in Oneonta. My goodness, this is a great photo right here. This is taken, of course, live on Hartwick College early this morning. Some of you folks already seeing this colorful sunrise in some parts of the region. Even pretty beautiful here in downtown Utica. Upper 60s, humid conditions, humidity on the rise. We'll see dew points approaching the 70s as we head throughout the late morning and early afternoon. And a live look at the Earthful Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. A few isolated downpours. You can track those individual small cells here and there south and east of Utica, as we mentioned over the past few days, as that stationary front out to the south and east still remains pretty stubborn, does not want to leave our area just yet. But as we head throughout this afternoon and this evening, it will eventually move its way to the south, but then collide with what's going to be what's left of Tropical Storm Beryl, at this point just a post-tropical depression. But regardless, even though the winds aren't going to be there, the moisture is going to be there and plenty of rain. In fact, you can see just how widespread this rain is. And we're cutting it very close with the extent of the heaviest rainfall. And on our Skycast, I'm going to head straight to it so we can see what's going to be happening for tonight and into tomorrow. Again, today, faded sunshine, temperatures upper 80s, low 90s. Heat advisories in effect. A reminder that you want to find extra way to stay cool today with that high heat and humidity. Then, by tonight, lows down only into the upper 60s, low 70s. And starting out tomorrow, we're not talking about an all-day washout event for most of the region. In fact, we're cutting it very close with that extent of rain right to the north and west of central New York. This could shift south, meaning that some of you folks up in the Boonville, Camden, Old Forge area have a higher risk of seeing this extended flooding rainfall compared to those south in Oneonta and Cooperstown. But our model here shifts it more to the north, meaning that we're going to see warmer temperatures tomorrow. Highs, upper 80s, low 90s. The backside of this sweeps through tomorrow evening, and that could produce some heavier downpours and potentially a strong storm or two. But I want to focus again on that rainfall. Take a look at this right here. We're cutting it extremely close. The red outlines there indicating 2 inches or more of rainfall falling within the span of 12 or so hours. And this could shift a little bit to the south or a little bit to the north. So we're going to fine tune that forecast as more data comes in, if it becomes more consistent, because again, this has shifted north over the past 12 hours. So this, again, the primary concern being heavier rainfall and potential flooding, secondary risk being potentially some stronger storms in the evening. So because of that, I put tomorrow as an alert day, just a heads up for potential for flood risk north and west of Utica. But then following that, we got a bit of a difference in that 7-day forecast compared to yesterday. Those of you that saw it yesterday, a lot more storms in the forecast. Now things have dried out. Those fronts have shifted more east and south. And we'll see drying conditions for Friday, Saturday, and the start of Sunday for Boilermaker Sunday. However, we're going to be cutting it close for some showers and storms in the afternoon. Gary?
Thank you. There are some new additions to the barnyards and back.
With Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on this Tuesday morning. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And get ready for some more heat. It's going to heat up quickly today.
Yes, we got a warm one, back to hot one today. Dew points in the 70s, heat index values in the mid to upper 90s in some spots. So it'll be a warm one across the region. In fact, we got heat advisories in effect across parts of central New York, mainly the lower elevations, noticing Lewis County, northern Herkimer County excluded in this, as well as Schoharie County. But as you head into the valley, Fulton, at least southern Fulton, Montgomery, southern Herkimer, Oneida, Madison, Shenango, Otsego, all with heat advisories for today. And these are not atypical advisories, just a heads up that it's going to be a hot one out, and you want to practice some extra precautions, for example, limiting time outdoors if you can, or if you work outside, to find extra ways to stay cool and hydrated. Around the state with those temperatures in the 60s in the valley, 76 in Albany, 54 in Saranac Lake. Quite the difference of temperature heading into the Adirondacks. And in Cooperstown, a live look early this morning. We've got a quiet view here locally and across central New York on the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Quiet conditions with only a few thunderstorms rolling through the Catskills. And the next 12 hours favor upper 80s to near 90. Again, you factor in that high humidity. We're talking about feels like temperatures in the mid 90s. So again, find ways to stay cool today, because following this, we'll see another very warm day tomorrow, and we're cutting it very close to some flooding risk. We'll talk about that in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. Damaging storm surge and intense winds as Hurricane Beryl made landfall on the Texas coast on Monday. More than 1.1 million customers are right now without power. That number continues to grow. Hurricane Beryl hit as a Category 1 storm near Matagorda, Texas, about 85 miles south of Houston, with maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center said dangerous and potentially life-threatening storm surges, flooding, and strong winds were all definitely possible. Beryl is expected to weaken into a tropical storm as it moves north through eastern Texas over the next 12 hours. Well, when it's time to head back to class in the fall, the
WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Good morning, welcome back. The time now is 6:12. We're getting you set as you head to the road this morning on the Munson CommuteCast. First off, a live look along the arterial in downtown Utica. Great shot of that sunrise early today. And we're seeing faded sun and a mild start, but dry start to the day today. But a matter of fact, let's zoom in closer along the arterial. You can see, of course, traffic starting to pick up, but again, roads looking dry, and this will be a common sight all across central New York today. Traffic flow from our traffic tracker looking pretty quiet all across the region. And again this morning, temperatures starting out in the 60s, climbing quickly into the upper 80s to low 90s. Humidity even higher, so it will feel like the mid 90s across a lot of the region. And so with today being very warm, tomorrow also being very warm, a reminder that you want to spend some extra time this morning packing some extra water bottles and some ice packs to work outside. Again, always want to make sure those of you that do work outside stay hydrated and cool. But again, this evening, dry conditions for the most part, isolated storm. We're tracking potential for some flooding tomorrow in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Water Safari up in Old Forge had to close early yesterday after an unexpected power outage. But that means people who lost out on the afternoon fun will get another opportunity to enjoy the park. The park is apologizing to its guests on Facebook. They say power was lost from the main supply and the generators blew a fuse. Now, the outage happened around 1:45 Monday afternoon. Now, the good news is no one had to be rescued from the water rides, but a New Hartford resident posted this picture right here to Facebook. Check out this. As everyone was trying to leave the park at the same time, park officials call it an unforeseen outage, and those who had to leave will be given tickets for another day. The power is now back up and running, and the park will be back open as normal today. The time right now is 6:14. Here's a
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back, everyone. It's a mild start to the day today with, in some spots, a beautiful sunrise. She's alive like an Oneonta right now as the colorful sunrise continues on. And today, mainly dry conditions with temperatures climbing from the 60s up into the upper 80s to near 90. Now, it's humid to start. Dew points today will climb to tropical-like levels up into the 70s. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. I mentioned that we're mainly dry, but of course we can't rule out a pop-up shower or storm. Those of them are typically forming right now in the Catskill region. But zooming out a little bit, here's what's left of Hurricane Beryl, which now Tropical Storm Beryl, I think more so post-tropical depression Beryl, moving through parts of the Midwest at this point. And this will continue to shift north and east into our area. And so stationary front south and east, bringing the potential for an isolated storm, most of us though remaining dry. Then heading into tomorrow, we'll start to see the arrival of this low pressure center Beryl moving into the northeast. And we're cutting it close with flooding potential. With all this moisture in the system and a lot of forcing, there could be some heavier downpours embedded in this that could produce several inches of rainfall over the span of only a day or so. In fact, this is how close we are to seeing flooding concerns. 2.5 inches of rainfall in some spots well north of our area. However, this can shift south, and so I have concern that some spots up in the higher elevations north of the Mohawk Valley, primarily north and west of Utica, could see some flooding concerns with this. So we'll keep an eye on how this system trends, because that's the main concern, is flooding. But following that, there's a concern for some stronger storms in the evening with a trailing cold front. So again, back to today. Upper 80s, low 90s, feels like temperatures even warmer, chance for an isolated storm. Tonight, mainly quiet, a few passing clouds, temperatures upper 60s, low 70s. Then you can see here just how much rain is falling north and west of central New York. And again, this could shift south a few miles. A reminder that 12 hours ago or 24 hours ago, this was farther to the south. In fact, a lot of us were seeing the heavy rain, and it shifted north. So this system is still wobbling, but we know it's going to be causing some flooding concerns. We want to fine-tune exactly where it's going to take place. Then, following that, we'll see the arrival of a few showers and storms that could be on the stronger side heading into the late evening and overnight. And by Thursday, some lingering showers and drizzle. And so, look at your 7-day forecast. It's looking a little bit different than those of you tuned in yesterday. Some sharp changes for the second half of the week. Things are drying out a lot heading into Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, we're cutting it close for now. The start of the day looking dry, but potential for some showers and storms in the afternoon. Gary?
Eric, thank you. Be sure to like us on Facebook.
News with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this half hour. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And those lawns seem to need a little water.
Yes, and I would say, you know, in some instances, a little bit of rain. Maybe not 3 to 4 inches of rain at a time, but yes, a lot of lawns starting to get a little bit on the dry side. We've had a dry stretch of weather, but it's also going to be very warm today as well. It might not help those dry lawns. Let's take a look at those heat advisories in effect today. Oneida County, Southern Herkimer County, Fulton Montgomery County, at least Southern Fulton County, Madison, Shenango, Otsego, all under heat advisories. So we're talking about heat index values in the mid-90s today. It's going to be very warm out there. Make sure you find extra ways to stay cool and hydrated. Around the state, temperatures in the 60s, 64 Hamilton, 67 Rome, 76 out in Albany, and 54, a little cooler up in Saranac Lake. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar. Quiet and dry conditions here locally. We're just tracking some showers and storms passing south of us in Delaware County in the Catskills. But the next 12 hours favor faded sunshine, temperatures upper 80s, and high humidity. So it's going to be very humid today, very warm. And on top of that, with all this added humidity in the atmosphere, it's going to increase the potential for some flooding risks for tomorrow, especially with what's left of Hurricane Beryl will be moving its way here into central New York. We're going to talk about the highest risk zones for flooding, plus any other risks we could be expecting for tomorrow in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And don't forget, the Storm Tracker 2 forecast is never more than 10 minutes away each morning. President Biden remains defiant on staying.
Welcome back to Sunrise. We are taking a look at our photo of the day today. This one submitted to us from Rome, a beautiful shot of a hummingbird taken by Kimberly. And I always wanted to know how you get these photos so close up in such high quality. It might be the lens. I have to learn more about photography skills, obviously, but a great photo right here. If you'd like to make a photo like this one, send it to the link right there on top of your screen, WKTV.com/weather/pics. Now, with the high heat and humidity today, aside from a stray storm, most of us remain entirely dry. So I think it's a good idea to go out and get some ice cream this afternoon or this evening with conditions cooling down into the mid to low 80s by the evening. So make sure you eat it fast because that ice cream will start to melt. And again, today, 60s to start, climbing into the upper 80s, near 90. Feels like temperatures even warmer, but aside from the heat, our next focus will be on what's left of Tropical Storm Beryl as it moves into central New York. We'll talk about that in more detail in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Boilermaker Week is here. The best 15.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. The time now is 6:48, and we are starting out the day with quiet conditions, faded sunshine, and relatively warm temperatures in the 60s. A live look at downtown Utica right now. We've got, again, that faded sunshine across the board, a dry start, officially 67 degrees at Griffiths and Rome. Humidity will be on the rise today, and the dew points will remain pretty tropical for not only today, but for the next several days. In a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar, we're cutting it close with just a few pop-up showers and storms falling in the Catskill region. But our main focus following the heat and humidity today will be what's left of Beryl as it continues to shift more and more north and east into central New York. But for right now, we've got this pesky, stubborn stationary front off the coast of the northeast. What this is doing, this is causing a few spotty storms to fire up along this front, and this is going to wobble back and forth a little bit for the next day or so. So most of us will remain dry for today, but again, that risk for an isolated storm still can't be ruled out. Then here comes what's left of Beryl. At this point, the winds are almost a non-factor, but what will be a factor will be the rainfall. There is such high humidity with this system as it moves through. There is heavy rain falling right here, and not just heavy rain, but heavy rain lasting for several hours. And that could cause rainfall totals in some of these spots up here to reach maybe 3-4 inches of total rainfall within the span of 24 hours. Now, the tricky part here is exactly where does this exact zone of heavy rainfall fall for our local area? Well, zooming in, we'll see that potential rainfall totals for the next 24 to 48 hours, especially for tomorrow. You can see here, red zone over 3 inches of rainfall, and it's just north of us. This could shift south, it could shift north, so we're going to keep a close eye on how this forms as the days can get, or at least the hours get closer. But on our Skycast, what we can talk about this, at least for this morning, is that we'll see faded sunshine, high heat, high humidity, temperatures in the upper 80s, low 90s. Feels like temperatures even warmer. Then tonight, mainly quiet conditions, lows in the 70s and upper 60s. Then tomorrow, a dry start, but in some spots north, there could be several hours of continuous rain, heavier rainfall. And that's our concern for tomorrow, as there could be elevated risk for flooding concerns in the areas north and west of Utica. So we're going to keep a close eye on this. Of course, stay with us throughout the rest of today and tomorrow with any developments on that. But regardless, a few showers and storms roll through tomorrow evening, and these could be on the stronger side. But your 7-day forecast, we've got showers and storms tomorrow, and following that will dry out. A bit different with that 7-day compared to yesterday, with quiet conditions into Friday and Saturday, and then dry start Sunday, potential for some showers and storms Sunday afternoon. So hopefully the Boilermaker itself stays rain-free and lightning-free.
Yeah, let's hope for sure.
Yes.
Eric, thanks. Well, there are some new additions to the barnyards and backyards area.
Now, the news with Gary Liberatore and meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the CW11. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And if you like the heat, get ready for it to be very hot today. Around 90, we're saying.
Yes, right around 90 with hot and humid conditions. Humidity is going to be sticking around as well. And with that in mind, we have heat advisories in effect. Let's take a look at where they are taking place right now. It excludes the highest elevations. So Hamilton, northern Fulton, northern Herkimer, Lewis, Schoharie counties, they're excluded in this heat advisory issuing. But of course, the lowest elevations, and of course, Madison, Shenango, Otsego counties also with heat advisories. And that's only just letting you know that there's going to be heat index values in the mid-90s, and you want to exercise extra precautions if you're working outside. For example, bring in some extra waters and ice packs. Around the state, those temperatures in the 60s still. 78 already, near 80 out in Albany, 59 up in Saranac Lake. And the radar is quiet and dry. We're tracking a few downpours and showers south of us. Still moving through what's left of the Catskills, heading into the Hudson Valley. And the next 12 hours today favor faded sunshine. Temperatures upper 80s, low 90s. Feels like temperatures even warmer. Now, with all this humidity in the air, this sets the stage for a flooding risk tomorrow as what's left of Tropical Storm Beryl moves its way here into central New York. We'll talk about what zones could see the most amount of rain in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
And Eric, damaging storm surge and intense winds as Hurricane Beryl made landfall along the Texas coast on Monday. More than 1 million customers are now without power. That number continues to grow. Hurricane Beryl hit as a Category 1 storm near Matagorda, Texas, about 85 miles southwest of Houston, with maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center said dangerous and potentially life-threatening storm surges, flooding, and strong winds were all possible. Beryl is expected to weaken into a tropical storm as it moves north through eastern Texas over the next 12 hours. And as you heard, Eric, it will make its way here with some rain probably tomorrow night. And when it's time to go back to class this fall.
From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good morning and welcome back. The time now is 7:22 and we're starting out the day pretty mild with faded sunshine and temperatures in the 60s. A live look at downtown Utica right now. Quiet conditions here locally. And we'll start to see those temperatures continue to climb from, again, those 60s up into the 70s and eventually 80s and near 90. So officially 69 in Rome, humid out with dew points in the mid 60s. Now, the radar is quiet and dry. There is some isolated downpours south and east of us in the Catskills, but zooming out to the main focus today and tomorrow, which is what's left of Beryl. Now, it's still in the Midwest, south of Missouri, and heading into parts of Kentucky and eventually Ohio and Indiana. But for now, we're dry. However, we do have a chance of an isolated downpour with that stationary front out to the south and east. But notice with Beryl, it'll start to shift its way north and east, the remnant still moving its way more into our local area. Now, at this point, wind's not really a primary concern. What will be a concern with all this humidity in the air is heavy, sustained downpours. Flooding concerns being the primary risk of this setup. As it shifts more north and east, we got this zone of rainfall right here. In that zone, there could be rainfall totals exceeding 3, maybe 4 inches of rain, some spots potentially even more. But the issue is there's no consensus with exactly where it sets up just yet. We just know it's going to happen. And so, on our projected rainfall map right here, you can see some locations north and west of Utica seeing upwards of 2, maybe 3 inches of rain. Flood-prone areas have the highest risk, of course. And the extent drops dramatically as you head farther south and east. So this is a conglomeration of several of our ideas with how the rain is going to set up into what we have here, our in-house model. And this is overall what we think is going to happen, at least initially. But again, that rainfall total range could shift north or south. But for today, though, it's hot, it's humid, temperatures upper 80s, low 90s, heat advisories in effect, potential for a stray storm. Then here comes the rain showers earlier on north and west of Utica, later on in the day for areas south and east. And you can see here, as it sweeps through, there could be potential for a strong rotating storm or two by the late evening. So, of course, we'll keep an eye on this as new developments do come in. And so your 7-day forecast, alert day tomorrow. The rest of the week shaping up a lot nicer with sunshine moving in late Friday and Saturday, and then dry for Sunday, potential for storms later on in the evening.
With Gary Liberatore.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Gary Liberatore.
And I'm Storm Tracker 2 meteorologist Eric Gage.
And get ready for the heat. It is warming up pretty quickly today.
Yes, we already have temperatures in the 80s and even warmer with those feels-like conditions.
Wow.
Humidity on the
already
rise. Yes. Let's take a look at what's going on out there early this afternoon. Again, heat advisories in effect. It's level, at least the lowest level in terms of heat watches, heat warnings. So just a heads up that it's going to be hot for the rest of the early to mid-afternoon, and then cooling down a little bit slightly as we head into tonight. Around the state, temperatures in the 80s, 81 in Rome, 84 Hamilton, 88 in Syracuse. You factor in that humidity, and it's even warmer. 84 in Rome, 92 Syracuse, 90 Glens Falls, 92 in Albany, 97. That feels like temperature down in Poughkeepsie. So we're starting to see this heat and humidity here locally. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 live radar. Mainly dry across the region, but you notice, of course, an isolated pop-up storm north of Speculator. Those pop-up storm chances are there with this high heat and humidity. But again, most of us will remain dry with temperatures still remaining in the upper 80s. Feels like temperatures even warmer. But regardless of this heat, we're tracking the arrival of what's left of tropical storm, hurricane, and now eventually, right now, post-tropical depression Beryl, and what we can expect versus wind, versus flooding, all that and more in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. And a reminder, stay hydrated if you are.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back, everyone. We are tracking yet again another very warm day here in Central New York, with today being a bit more on the humid side. Live look at downtown Utica right now. Of course, we're seeing some blue skies mixed in with some faded sunshine. It's hazy, it's hot, and it's humid. We got temperatures in the low 80s, but tropical humidity, so it feels like 84 degrees officially at Griffiths in Rome. And around central New York, again, 84 Hamilton, 88 in Syracuse. These are just the temperatures on paper, not even factoring in the humidity just yet. 87 Little Falls, 83 Westmoreland and Deansboro into the south, 88 in Sherburne, 85 Cooperstown, and 81 degrees in Oneonta. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar. Aside from an isolated pop-up storm north of Speculator, most of central New York looking pretty dry at this point. But again, zooming out, here's what's left. The messy remnants of Hurricane Beryl, which is now post-tropical depression Beryl. Wind speeds right around 35 miles per hour, rotational-wise. And so with that in mind, winds will not be a concern as this continues to weaken as it approaches us here in central New York. The main concern, though, will be the potential for some flooding. Now, as we take a look at what's going to happen by tonight and eventually tomorrow, in fact, this is actually tomorrow afternoon, you'll notice we have a bit of a dry slot here, this warm front surging north, but we are cutting it very close to extended rainfall area. At least the rainfall in this zone could exceed 2, 3, 4 inches of rain within the span of 24 hours. So this is what we mean by we're cutting it very close to flooding potential, and in some spots where this will take place, it could be pretty significant in poor drainage areas. So the latest projected rainfall from our in-house model here, again, we're cutting it very close. Lewis County, areas up near Watertown, well up north near St. Lawrence County. I think that's where the main bullseye will be, but this is still a developing system and can shift slightly north or slightly south. So we'll, of course, provide updates on exactly where that heavier rainfall band begins to set up as it approaches tonight and early tomorrow. And so again, today, a few clouds in the sky, temperatures approaching near 90, a pop-up storm here and there, otherwise mainly dry conditions. Tonight, lows in the upper 60s, low 70s. Then tomorrow, at least early tomorrow morning, rain showers out in western New York, shifting to the north. But then you can see that rain bands sweep through central New York, and we could see a strong storm or two by the evening. And so your 7-day forecast, alert day tomorrow for, again, that potential for flooding. It stays north at this point, but we're going to keep a close eye on it. And then, of course, following that, drying out for the most part heading into the weekend. Hopefully the rain stays away for Boilermaker Sunday, but for now it's looking dry for the morning.
At least for the morning.
Yes, that's all we need. No lightning, no rain.
That's for sure. Eric, thanks. Well, today, millions of Texans are dealing with the aftermath of Beryl, which roared ashore Monday as a powerful Category 1 hurricane. The storm, which took at least 7 lives and dropped up to 15 inches of rain, also knocked out power to nearly 3 million people right in the middle of a heat wave. NBC's Kathy Park is in Houston this noon, where the cleanup is underway.
Texas is now in recovery mode after taking a direct hit from Beryl yesterday. The storm is now being blamed for at least 7 deaths, including one victim who is an employee with the Houston Police Department. We're told that this employee was trying to head to work early yesterday morning when he got caught in the floodwaters. Meanwhile, nearly 2 million customers are still without power, and today, this is what we're looking at. A lot of residents are dealing with a big cleanup ahead. We're told that this massive tree fell down some point yesterday afternoon, blocking off the roadway. But as you can see, still a lot of cleaning up to do throughout the day today. We are told that crews will be out working around the clock. City officials are encouraging people to avoid any sort of unnecessary travel so that they can move forward with the restoration process. But of course, the big headline that we are tracking, the ongoing power outages. Once again, hundreds of thousands of customers still without power. We were told by CenterPoint Energy the goal is to restore roughly 1 million customers by the end of day tomorrow. But right now we are baking in this heat. This heat is sweltering. It will be continuing throughout the coming days. We will stay in the 90s today. The heat index will reach 105. So this is just adding insult to injury, especially with those who do not have power. Back to you.
NBC's Kathy Park reporting from Houston. Coming up. And meteorologist Eric Gage joining us, and it is a good idea for people to stay hydrated today, especially those working outside like we saw earlier in the newscast.
Yes, that's right. And today we're talking about temperatures in the 80s. Feels like temperatures in the 90s.
Already.
And I think that, yes, you want to make sure people are hydrated as well. Have some extra waters, grab some ice packs as well. But on top of that, I also wanted to get an early preview to you all about the Boilermaker. And so far, the morning is shaping up pretty nicely. We've got clear skies initially. One of the other models indicating that rain will arrive in the late morning, early afternoon. So again, it's still just under a week out, so a heads up that it's going to take a little bit for these models to kind of hone in on what's expected. A great view of the time lapse this morning of the sunrise in Oneonta. It was a great sunrise early today, and of course you can see the faded sunshine moving across central New York. Now temperatures, again, low 80s on paper. You factor in the humidity, already 92 in Syracuse and Albany. And the radar quiet and dry here locally, but a few spotty downpours starting to pop up. And so the next 12 hours favor mainly dry weather, temperatures in the upper 80s to low 90s. And then, of course, potential for a pop-up storm. We're talking a bit more about what you can expect for tomorrow as what's left of Beryl moves into central New York in that forecast straight ahead. Gary?
Eric, thanks. Chinese and Belarusian military units are...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Eric Gage.
Good afternoon and welcome back. We are currently sitting in the 80-degree mark here across central New York with cloudy skies in some spots, but sunshine peeking out in others. A live look outside from our Nexus camera looking at downtown Utica. It's a very warm one out there. 81 degrees officially in Rome, tropical levels of humidity, but you factor in all that, and those temperatures climb into the upper 80s. In fact, 89 Little Falls, 82 Otter Lake, 87 in Westmoreland. To the south, 89 degrees in Sherburne, 86 Cooperstown, 82 Oneonta, 86 as well in Unadilla and Afton. And a live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2, a live radar, quiet and dry all across the region, pop-up storms north and east of central New York, north of Speculator. And that will be the main weather system for today. A few pop-up showers here and there, otherwise mainly dry. Our attention is actually focused mainly on what's left, the messy remnants of Hurricane Beryl, now post-tropical depression Beryl, as it continues to shift more and more northeast here into our local area. And so for today, the reason why we have a chance of a pop-up storm here and there, we got a stationary front right along the border of Otsego in Delaware County. It produced a few pop-up storms along the Catskills earlier today. Now it's going to wobble back and forth a little bit for the next few hours, but then you'll see what's left of Beryl move into our area, and we will see likely a dry slot in the early to mid-morning for tomorrow. But our attention is primarily focused on this region right here. This is where we could see rainfall totals eclipse 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain within the span of 24 hours. And you can see just how close we are to this flooding concern as one of our model outputs right here puts some locations up here in the red area at 3 inches or more of rain north of Lewis County up near Watertown region. And so that's our primary concern for tomorrow. Now, the latest trends still have it well north and west of Utica, but that could change depending on how this system continues to wobble. But regardless, today mainly dry weather, very warm conditions, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. Then by tomorrow morning, you can see mainly dry. We're not talking about a washout for tomorrow, at least for the start of the day. But as you head into the evening and during the overnight hours, you can see this rain system to continue to sweep south and east into the area. Heavy downpours and, of course, potential for a strong storm or two as the backside of this low pressure system moves through the region. But again, your 7-day forecast, because of that flood concern and potential for a strong storm or two tomorrow evening, we have Wednesday as an alert day. But then following that, things have trended a bit more on the dry side for Thursday, at least for Friday and Saturday, with clouds giving way to sunshine, and then sunshine to start out Boilermaker Sunday, cutting it close for showers and storms in the afternoon. Again, it's still right around a week or so away, so we'll keep a close eye on how the weather shapes up for that.
That's for sure. A lot of people will be looking for that. Eric, thanks. Well, Sam's Club has become the latest retailer to up their...
Meteorologist Jill Reel tracking an alert day.
That's right. Tomorrow we have issued an alert day with the potential for some strong to severe weather as well as flooding. But for this evening, quiet weather across central New York. The big story, of course, is the heat. We're at 85 degrees at Griffiths Park. We factor in that dew point of 87. It feels like 88. Just a few stray showers north of Rome. Otherwise, quiet weather across central New York for this evening as we head into the overnight and into tomorrow morning. The big story, of course, those temperatures. 89 degrees in Westernville, 87 in Little Falls, 88 in Dolgeville. As we head to the south across the southern valleys, 87 in Cooperstown, 88 in Hamilton, and 82 in Oneonta. As we go throughout tonight, again, temperatures aren't going to drop too much, so definitely want those air conditioners running. I am tracking showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow. Look at that forecast coming up.
Firefighters battled flames and...
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Jill Reel.
A relatively quiet evening across central New York with temperatures still in the 80s under humid conditions, but things are going to change as we head into tomorrow. Let's look at that timeline. Again, for tonight, the big story, the temperatures. We're only going to drop back to near 70 degrees for tonight with an isolated thunderstorm possible. Better chance for rain for tomorrow. Tomorrow is an alert day because of the potential for some heavy rain north of the Mohawk Valley and strong thunderstorms as we head towards Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. Then we'll see some leftover scattered showers as we get closer to Thursday. Just a few spotty showers showing up on our Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. As we go throughout the evening and into tonight, do expect relatively quiet weather across central New York. Just a sprinkler or two possible as we head into the overnight. But the big story is what's happening to our west. What is left over from Tropical Storm Beryl, seeing that heavy rain back across the Midwest, making its way into the Ohio River Valley. That's heading in our direction as we head into tomorrow, especially for Wednesday afternoon and into Wednesday evening. And with that, there is potential for some heavy rain along with strong to severe thunderstorms, especially during the afternoon and into the evening hours. So on our Skycast again for tonight, the big story, it's going to be warm. Temperatures will only drop back to near 70 degrees as we head into the overnight and into tomorrow morning. So a muggy overnight and a very warm start for your Wednesday. Temperatures starting off in the 70s. Rain will develop, especially across the North Country as we go throughout the morning into the afternoon hours. The more sunshine we see, you'll notice some sunshine by 1 p.m., the better chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms. And check out those temperatures. We're going to be in the 90s once again as we head towards tomorrow afternoon with very humid conditions. By tomorrow evening, we'll be tracking a line of thunderstorms associated with a cold front. So you notice by 8 p.m., there's that line of strong to severe weather that's going to make its way into central New York as we head throughout Wednesday evening into the first half of Wednesday night with a few leftover showers by Thursday. So our first focus is going to be the severe weather. We're in the slight risk for severe weather for tomorrow. Our biggest concern, again, with that humidity, a lot of moisture in the air. We could see some flash flooding. On top of that, high winds as well as a chance for an isolated tornado. And then on top of that, with that heavy rain across the North Country, we are expecting that rain again across Boonville, Old Forge, up towards again, northern parts of our viewing area, and that is why there is a flood watch for northern Herkimer as well as Hamilton and Fulton counties. So for tonight, muggy. We're going to drop back to near 70 degrees tomorrow. Hazy, hot, and humid conditions. Thunderstorms, especially during the afternoon and evening hours. These thunderstorms will last into tomorrow night. A few leftover showers as we head towards Thursday, and then drying out as we head towards the weekend. The humidity does look to stick around, and it looks quite warm for Boilermaker Sunday. We'll fine-tune that forecast. There is a chance for some thunderstorms, but as of right now, looks to be during the afternoon hours, so the race looks okay for now.
All right, good deal.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jill. Still to come on News Channel 2 at 6, the Colgate women's ice hockey team has time for a first look at the forecast.
Another warm and humid day across central New York, and that humidity is going to stick around for tonight and for tomorrow. Here's what we are tracking. Very humid conditions continue for tonight and very humid conditions tomorrow. That is going to give us the potential for some heavy rain, especially north of the Mohawk Valley as we go throughout Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. On top of that, also tracking some severe weather as we head towards Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening for all of central New York. And then we're going to keep a close eye on the Boilermaker. As of right now, does look dry with the potential for some thunderstorms in the afternoon. But the big story for tomorrow, it's going to be very uncomfortable tropical humidity, not only for Wednesday, but for Thursday. And then the humidity will begin to drop as we head towards the weekend. So leave those air conditioners running for tonight. Temperatures only drop back to near 70 degrees. We'll look at those rainfall totals coming up.
Jill, thank you. New tonight, newly proposed OSHA regulations for firefighters is causing concern for local fire departments. Skies above the city. Take a look at this video. A pair of planes appear to nearly collide not far from Syracuse Hancock International Airport. It all happened just before noon yesterday. According to the FAA, an air traffic controller gave one of the pilots a go-around order to keep it separated from an aircraft that was departing on the same runway. The FAA says they are investigating this incident. A live look at the Yorkville Battery Storm Tracker 2 Doppler radar. Your full forecast with meteorologist Jill Reel is coming up next.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Jill Reel.
We are tracking the potential for some rain and thunderstorms as we head towards Wednesday. But for tonight, our timeline, the big story is just going to be very uncomfortable, muggy and mild conditions with just an isolated thunderstorm throughout the overnight. Our biggest concern is going to be on Wednesday. That is why Wednesday is an alert day with heavy rain possible, especially across the North Country. And on top of that, we are also going to be tracking the potential for some strong thunderstorms as we go throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Any thunderstorms that do develop could contain some heavy rain, so flash flooding is also possible for Wednesday. And then we'll finally begin to dry out on Thursday with some scattered showers and warm and humid conditions. Where is this rain coming from? We've been talking about it all week long. The leftovers of Tropical Storm Beryl, now a low pressure system. All this moisture is heading to the north and to the east through the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast as we head into tomorrow. So we're going to keep a close eye on this track as it will bring a lot of moisture with it, giving the potential for some heavy rain as well as some strong thunderstorms. But for tonight, the big story, it's just uncomfortable outside. Temperatures are only going to drop back into the 70s. So as we go throughout the morning hours, we're going to start off in the 70s. A warm front is going to move through the area, giving us some rain for the North Country as we go throughout the morning into the afternoon. But for the Mohawk Valley, Southern Valleys, we may see some sunshine. The more sunshine we see, better chance for some severe weather as we head towards Wednesday evening. You will notice thunderstorms beginning to pop up after 5 p.m. and will continue for Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So we have that potential for several rounds of some thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. Now, any thunderstorms that do develop have the slight risk of becoming severe. Our biggest concern with all that moisture in the air is flooding. We could see some flash flooding as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. On top of that, we also could see some damaging winds, and isolated tornado is possible for the Mohawk Valley and points south. Again, this is for Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. On top of that, we're keeping a close eye on rain. The heaviest rain looks to be up across the North Country, north of Utica, so as you head towards Boonville, Old Ford, Speculator. Because of that, we do have a flood watch that's in effect for northern Herkimer, Hamilton, and northern Fulton counties for tomorrow. So a lot happening for tomorrow, but just for tonight, it's just going to be uncomfortable. We'll drop back to only near 70 degrees. Hazy, hot, and humid as we head towards Wednesday. Widespread rain for the North Country. Afternoon, evening thunderstorms for the Mohawk Valley and for the southern valleys. And those showers and thunderstorms will continue for Wednesday evening into Wednesday night. A few leftover rain showers for Thursday, then we do dry out as we head towards Boilermaker weekend, but still staying warm and humid with temperatures in the 80s.
Jill, thank you. Coming up next, forecast with meteorologist Jill Reel.
Another warm and humid day across central New York, and that humidity is going to stick around for tonight and for tomorrow. Here's what we are tracking. Very humid conditions continue for tonight and very humid conditions tomorrow. That is going to give us the potential for some heavy rain, especially north of the Mohawk Valley as we go throughout Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. On top of that, also tracking some severe weather as we head towards Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening for all of central New York. And then we're going to keep a close eye on the Boilermaker. As of right now, does look dry with the potential for some thunderstorms in the afternoon. But the big story for tomorrow, it's going to be very uncomfortable. Tropical humidity, not only for Wednesday, but for Thursday. And then the humidity will begin to drop as we head towards the weekend. So leave those air conditioners running for tonight. Temperatures only drop back to near 70 degrees. We'll look at those rainfall totals coming up.
Jill, thank you. New tonight, newly proposed.
The WKTV Tower Cam is brought to you by the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. From Central New York's most dependable weather team, here's meteorologist Jill Reel.
We are tracking the potential for some rain and thunderstorms as we head towards Wednesday. But for tonight, our timeline, the big story is just going to be very uncomfortable, muggy and mild conditions with just an isolated thunderstorm throughout the overnight. Our biggest concern is going to be on Wednesday. That is why Wednesday is an alert day with heavy rain possible, especially across the North Country. And on top of that, we are also going to be tracking the potential for some strong thunderstorms as we go throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Any thunderstorms that do develop could contain some heavy rain, so flash flooding is also possible for Wednesday. And then we'll finally begin to dry out on Thursday with some scattered showers and warm and humid conditions. Where is this rain coming from? We've been talking about it all week long. The leftovers of Tropical Storm Beryl, now a low pressure system. All this moisture is heading to the north and to the east through the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast as we head into tomorrow. So we're going to keep a close eye on this track as it will bring a lot of moisture with it, giving the potential for some heavy rain as well as some strong thunderstorms. But for tonight, the big story, it's just uncomfortable outside. Temperatures are only going to drop back into the 70s. So as we go throughout the morning hours, we're going to start off in the 70s. A warm front is going to move through the area, giving us some rain for the North Country as we go throughout the morning into the afternoon. But for the Mohawk Valley, southern valleys, we may see some sunshine. The more sunshine we see, better chance for some severe weather as we head towards Wednesday evening. You will notice thunderstorms beginning to pop up after 5 p.m. and will continue for Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So we have that potential for several rounds of some thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. Now, any thunderstorms that do develop have the slight risk of becoming severe. Our biggest concern with all that moisture in the air is flooding. We could see some flash flooding as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. On top of that, we also could see some damaging winds, and isolated tornado is possible for the Mohawk Valley and points south. Again, this is for Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. On top of that, we're keeping a close eye on rain. The heaviest rain looks to be up across the North Country, north of Utica, so as you head towards Boonville, Old Forge, Speculator. And because of that, we do have a flood watch that's in effect for northern Herkimer, Hamilton, and northern Fulton counties for tomorrow. So a lot happening for tomorrow, but just for tonight, it's just going to be uncomfortable. We'll drop back to only near 70 degrees. Hazy, hot, and humid as we head towards Wednesday. Widespread rain for the North Country. Afternoon, evening thunderstorms for the Mohawk Valley and for the southern valleys. And those showers and thunderstorms will continue for Wednesday evening into Wednesday night. A few leftover rain showers for Thursday. Then we do dry out as we head towards Boilermaker weekend, but still staying warm and humid with temperatures in the 80s.
Jill, thank you. We all know the importance of sunscreen, especially on a hot summer.